In the last year of the war in Europe, one question haunted Allied tank crews almost as much as artillery or airstrikes. What do you do when a King Tiger appears on the horizon? German propaganda had turned the Tiger II into a legend before most Allied soldiers had even seen one. 70 tons of armor. A massive 88mm gun capable of killing almost anything on the battlefield at well over a mile. Its silhouette, huge turret, long barrel, sloped armor, looked like something out of a nightmare. To infantry, it was a rolling fortress. To tankers, it was a problem that conventional tactics didn't solve. And on the British side of the line, another question started to circulate in mess halls, field briefings, and whispered conversations. If anything could stop a King Tiger, was it the Sherman Firefly? The Firefly did not look like a tank killer at first glance. It started life as the same humble M4 Sherman that crews had been driving since North Africa. High silhouette, relatively thin armor, a reputation for catching fire when hit. German crews called standard Shermans Tommy Cookers and Ronsons. They didn't fear them, they expected them to die. But the Firefly was different. British engineers had taken the ordinary Sherman and stuffed one of the most powerful anti-tank guns of the war into its turret, the 17-pounder. The barrel was long, almost absurdly so, and the breech practically filled the fighting compartment. To fit it, the British had to rotate and modify the gun, redesign the interior, and cram ammunition wherever there was space. It was awkward, cramped, uncomfortable. But when that gun fired, none of that mattered. The 17-pounder could do something German crews had not thought possible. It could punch through the armor of a Tiger and Panther at combat ranges. It fired high-velocity rounds that didn't just penetrate. They smashed through with enough leftover energy to wreak havoc inside. For the first time, Allied tankers had a gun that made German heavy tanks nervous. So, what happened when these two machines finally met? When a Firefly crew, sweating in a Sherman that was never designed to carry such a gun, found themselves facing the heaviest operational tank Germany ever fielded. On paper, the King Tiger should have been untouchable. Its frontal armor, particularly on the glacis and turret front, was thick enough that even the 17-pounder struggled to penetrate it beyond very short range. Head-on, at typical battlefield distances, a Firefly that fired first might see its shot ricochet in a spray of sparks. The King Tiger's 88mm, by contrast, could turn a Sherman into scrap at distances where the British crew could barely even see the German tank clearly. If both tanks saw each other at the same moment, on open ground, facing head-on, the King Tiger held the advantage. Firefly crews knew it. German commanders knew it. In a static duel, the King Tiger usually won. But tank battles in 1940-45 were almost never clean, honorable duels on level fields. They were messy, confused, fought in hedgerows, villages, forests, rolling hills, and ambush points. And in that world, the Firefly was far more dangerous than German propaganda liked to admit. The 17-pounder didn't need a frontal shot to kill a King Tiger. Its AP and APDS rounds could rip through the thinner side armor, punch into the rear, or smash through a turret ring at angles that standard Shermans could only dream of. A Firefly that got into position, hidden behind a hedgerow, waiting at the edge of a village, or lying in ambush along a road, could kill a King Tiger with a single well-placed shot. British crews understood this. They knew their survival depended not on armor, but on who saw whom first. So they adapted. Fireflies were often camouflaged to look like ordinary Shermans. Crews painted the long barrel in disruptive patterns, or broke up its outline so German tankers wouldn't instantly identify the real threat. In mixed platoons, only 1 in 4 tanks might be a Firefly, but that one tank was the spearhead, the big game hunter. The others supported it, drew fire, and helped flush German armor into killing zones. When reports of King Tigers in an area came in, British commanders didn't send in Fireflies to brawl with them face to face. They set traps. They studied likely routes. They used infantry and reconnaissance units to spot the heavy tanks, and then maneuvered Fireflies into flanking positions. On the Eastern Front, Soviet crews learned to respect the IS-2's 122mm gun. In the West, German crews soon learned to fear the 17-pounder. Veterans' accounts tell the same story again and again. When a Firefly got the drop on a Tiger II, it could and did kill it. Shots into the side hull, shots through the lower turret, shots from concealed positions at ranges where the German turret was still swinging, still trying to find the source. The King Tiger's armor was thick, but it was not invincible, and a tank that relied too much on its armor, that assumed nothing could hurt it, became vulnerable the moment someone proved otherwise. That's where the real answer to the question lies. Could the Firefly kill a King Tiger? Yes, under the right conditions. Not in a clean, fair duel on open ground. Not by trading blows frontally and hoping the armor would hold. The Firefly was never meant to be a heavyweight boxer standing in the center of the ring. It was a sniper in a fragile body, built around a gun that could decide a battle with a single shot. In 1945, as the war ground toward its bloody conclusion, German commanders no longer laughed at Allied tanks the way they had in 1942. They had seen too many inferior machines turned into deadly threats by clever engineering and ruthless tactics. They had watched supposedly invincible cats, Tigers, and King Tigers go up in flames because a British gunner on a muddy roadside hedgerow knew his business and didn't miss. The Firefly never had the mythic aura of the King Tiger. It didn't need it. It had something better, a reputation among those who fought in it and against it as the tank that finally gave Allied crews a fighting chance against Germany's heaviest armor. In the end, that's what mattered. The King Tiger represented what Germany wanted the war to be, decided by prestige, intimidation, and raw statistics on armor thickness and gun caliber. The Firefly represented what the war had actually become, decided by who adapted faster, who used their machines smarter, and who understood that even the mightiest tank was just steel in gears, vulnerable to a single armor-piercing round from the right angle, fired at the right moment by the right crew. The first British crews who faced the Tiger II reported that firing at its frontal armor felt pointless, like throwing stones at a bunker. Even the Firefly's legendary 17-pounder, which could kill a Tiger I frontally at over 1,000 yards, struggled to bite through the King Tiger's glasses. At anything beyond suicidal range, the shells shattered or ricocheted. The British quickly realized the truth. Beating the Tiger II wasn't about raw firepower. It was about angles, timing, and nerves, and that's where the Firefly had its chance. The King Tiger's armor was monstrous, but only where it mattered most. Its front was nearly invulnerable, but its sides barely half as thick, and the turret's flat cheeks, perfect targets for the 17-pounder. British crews learned fast. Never shoot the King Tiger head-on. Never challenge a position it had already settled into. Never let it dictate the fight. Instead, they waited. They stalked. They ambushed. And the Firefly excelled at ambush. The 17-pounder's APCBC and APDS rounds were some of the fastest anti-tank shells fired by any Allied gun. When they hit side armor, even the mighty King Tiger felt it. British gunners reported that the moment you saw the side plate, just for a second, as the German tank turned, reversed, or crossed open terrain, you took the shot. One hit could tear straight through the crew compartment, ignite ammunition racks, or rip open the engine bay. The Firefly could kill the King Tiger, but only if the crew kept their nerves steady long enough to catch that brief, priceless angle. German tankers respected the Firefly more than they admitted in official reports. Its long, narrow barrel stood out against the hedgerows and village streets, and the moment a Tiger II commander saw that barrel shape, he knew the battle had changed. The Firefly wasn't a threat from every direction, but from the right direction it was lethal. And unlike the heavy Churchill or the thick-skulled Sherman variants, the Firefly was fast, flexible, and always seemed to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was the British advantage, unpredictability. One veteran King Tiger commander later said, "The tank we feared was not the Firefly itself, but the man inside it who knew where to shoot." The Germans had better armor, a bigger gun, and more imposing presence, but the battlefield favored the hunter, not the giant. And in 1944-45, the British were hunting. In the bocage of Normandy, this became deadly. Narrow lanes, hedgerows, broken sightlines, perfect terrain for light and medium tanks, terrible for a 70-ton King Tiger. German tankers struggled to turn, reposition, or even reverse without exposing their vulnerable flanks. Firefly crews waited in fields, behind barns, inside tree lines. The moment a Tiger II lumbered into a killing lane, the 17-pounder roared, and the fight was often over before it began. British after-action reports confirmed this. Several King Tigers, destroyed by Fireflies, were hit not in the front, but in the turret ring, the turret cheeks, or the sides while maneuvering. All shots at angles, all deliberate, all deadly. But the King Tiger had its own terrifying advantage. Its 80D Mittermilch KWK-43 gun could kill a Sherman from almost any distance it could see it. Firefly crews knew this. Every time they opened fire, they risked immediate annihilation if the first shot missed. British tank commanders developed a grim rule. If you don't kill the Tiger II with the first round, you may not live for a second. That wasn't bravado. It was survival math. And yet, the Firefly kept winning fights it had no business winning. Why? Because war is rarely fought at perfect angles across open fields. In real combat, the heavy Tiger often arrived late, maneuvered slowly, and struggled to adapt. The Firefly, by contrast, was quick, alert, and everywhere at once. It wasn't the strongest tank, but it was the tank that struck first more often. By the final months of the war, as Germany lost fuel, veteran crews, and coordination, the King Tiger's weaknesses became impossible to ignore. Mechanical failures, broken gearboxes, cratered roads, ambushes, and lack of mobility turned its armor into a prison. British commanders used this ruthlessly. Fix the Tiger II in place, force it to turn, force it to cross open terrain, then let the Fireflies finish the job. Could the Firefly kill the King Tiger? Absolutely. Could it do it from the front? No. Was it easy? Never. But in the real world, not in theory, the Firefly's combination of a brilliant gun, disciplined crews, and clever tactics meant the King Tiger was never safe. The British couldn't match the Tiger II in a duel, so they didn't duel. They hunted, and by the time the war ended, the Firefly had earned a reputation that even German crews grudgingly acknowledged. It was the little tank with the gun that could slay giants, if the man inside it had the courage to take the shot. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed the video, a like and a subscription go a long way and help me keep making these World War II stories.